Yeah, it's a question.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Zanger.
It's a great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. A really good question.
Gosh, this question to me, I hate this question.
That's a loaded question. but okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your support of indie agency news. And let's meet an indie agency. We head down to Florida. Holy warm weather, Batman.
I think I read you're your first Florida agency.
Yeah.
Actually, St. John, Jacksonville.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So you're farther south. You're down in Miami, right?
We are a remote agency that's based in Florida, so our employees are all over Florida.
Okay.
But I personally live in Miami, and
then I'm in Orlando. Yeah. So
okay,
we in Orlando together right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I know why. We're recording this probably during the ANA.
You are correct.
So yes. Okay. Got it. Yes. Always fun. The Rosen Shingle. I know. I've been there.
You know the Rosen Shingle. Yes.
Yeah.
It's legendary.
Hats off to Bob Leodis and the team getting a good deal. But no, I mean, in all seriousness, it's just nice to have the same place because it's just like, okay, cool. We just go. And yeah, there's no drama. And it's a great week. It really, really is a great week. So again, hats off to Bob Leodis and their team. Look, I want to start because, as an ad week, I was at the Drum. And the thing about this agency, there are so many agencies like this where we'll see stuff from an agency and we're like, yeah, that's really good. And then we'll go off into a different direction. We'll come, and then the name will pop up and we'll go, oh yeah, hunterblu. We like them. and you fit within that. And then the other thing too, is it's really interesting that being an independent media shop is, it's really, really important. It's such an important component, not only for your business, but for other agency partners. But I'm curious about how this whole thing got started. Give us the backstory on the agency.
Sure. So we met at Crispin Porter and Bogusky back in 2009. Fun fact, I was Jessica's intern. So that is how we first started to get to know one another. So we worked there really on and off together for, a couple of years. Then we both left and, returned back to Crispin Porter and Bogusky in Miami. And really, once we were there, we were working together for about 5-6 years again there. And we both decided to go the freelance model. So we both became freelancers. We were working independently of one another. Some projects kept overlapping to where eventually we were like, you know what, like, should we just give this a go and start our own agency? Like, the worst possible thing that could happen is like, we'll have to go back and work for somebody else versus working for ourselves. So we were very fortunate that when we did start, we already had an existing client base because we just told our freelance clients, hey, you're going to just change who you're paying your paycheck to. You're getting the same person on your account. You're still having the same service. You're just making it out to a different person.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the fact that you were the intern.
Yes, if you had told me 15 years ago that David Hunter and I would be business partners, I would have not believed you. But here we are, and we started hunterblu almost 6 years ago. We'll be 6 in December of this year.
Gosh, no, it's so great. Yeah, it's super competitive part of the industry too with media. We'll touch on that a little bit, but I'm curious what you would say that hunterblu is best known for. Every agency, has one or two or many things that they're like, oh yeah, I remember them for that. I'm curious about what that is, and then also every agency has a list of things that they do and solutions they provide. What would you say are your top 3? So what you're best known for and your top 3 core strengths?
So coming out of working in a media department in a primarily creative agency, our background is working really well with creative people and with strategists as well. So from personal experience, both of us had worked in more traditional media settings, and it's completely siloed from the creative experience. There's a lot of tension between what the creative department wants to do and then what the media department delivers in terms of a flow chart. And there's not a lot of talking in between. So we're really good at bridging that gap, either if we are working on a client together with a creative agency, which we do quite a bit of, or if we're working with a client that either does creative in-house or has another solution. We're really great at taking the creative idea and understanding the strategy and then building a media plan that is actually relevant for that strategy. And it's not just about spots and dots or getting the absolute lowest CPM. It's being able to figure out how to take that creative idea and put it out into the world in the right way that actually makes sense and amplifies the creative versus just simply placing it somewhere.
Right. And so going back to this, this part of the business is wildly competitive.
Yes.
Not that full service, and I'm not saying the other aren't, but for whatever reason, the way it's structured, media, it's wild. I mean, it's absolutely wild. I'm curious about how it can be very easy for a media agency to okay, there's the latest thing, there's this, that, and the other. There is slow and steady wins the race. Here's the shiny new object. There's somewhere in between. I'm curious about how you focus in your clients, and obviously it's like it's completely dependent on X, Y, and Z. I totally get that. But I'm just curious, because it is so competitive, how you approach just making sure that your clients understand this is the best way to do it and here's why.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll start and then you want to add. So a big part of it for us is that everything is rooted in strategy from the beginning. So we're never the people who are like, oh, we have to have the shiniest object in the room. We let the ideas, we love to brief our partners and give them actually time to turn around custom ideas, where then we say this actually does, like, when you get that idea back from a media partner, like this is 100% going to work from an art form perspective. And then we have the science backing from just being in the industry for this long. Really, one thing I would say, ground our plans in is this idea of 80% is tried and true and 20% is test and learn. So it's like, hey, you really want to try that new shiny object? Like, here's our opinion, here's our POV on what it's going to do for the brand. And then we're putting the ball back on the client of like, here's how we recommend to test, but if it's an absolute mandate, like we have to try this new shiny thing, then here's 20% of the budget. Let's not blow our entire budget on, that big shiny object in the room like some other brands necessarily do.
Right. And we're also often working with brands that have the smaller budgets. So we want to be really mindful of that. We don't want to go out and spend a bunch of their money on something that is not, that isn't tried and true to some extent. We definitely want to have that wiggle room if there's a great creative idea and there's a great new way to do that. But with every media agency, they should be mindful of client budgets. But I think because we are working particularly with some of the smaller budgets, it's like you cannot afford to waste any of those dollars. You want to make sure that what you're doing is going to work.
Yeah, 100%. Why is being independent important to all of you?
Oh, you both? Yeah, we both have. We'll both probably have a similar response, I would imagine, to this. But I think for us, the biggest thing is the level of service you get from an independent agency, because nothing against the larger holding companies, but I think we all know this, if you are that small to medium-sized client and you go to a giant holding company, you're basically getting a plan that's designed for their largest clients, and you are getting the scraps at the end of the day. So for us, the big thing about independent is we're not held to these, holding company deal structures and things like that. We don't work with preferred media partners in the sense of, all of our media has to go through this when we're using programmatic, or like we're only going to work with this one vendor, in the out of home space and things like that. We are always trying to craft the best possible plan for that individual client versus using relationships and clout to say, okay, this is like going to be everyone's plan and we'll just change the targeting throughout the plan.
Right. Jessica, anything to add?
No, that's exactly right. Our clients, our clients can really trust that we are doing what's in best interest for the clients and not what's in best interest for ourselves or where we're getting those deals. Everything is custom crafted to each individual client.
Yeah, I like that. This question I think would apply to a brand, but also would apply to agencies as well. So what's the main reason a brand should work with you, or what's the main reason an agency that maybe doesn't necessarily have a media department, they're not necessarily strong there. What's the main reason that they should work with you?
Sure. I mean, it goes back to what a lot of what David just said is that our sweet spot is not about a particular category or a particular media type, since we are media agnostic. It's really about we're really there to service these small to medium sized brands that don't have a lot of other great options. If they go to a holding company and they do not have, tens of millions of dollars to spend, often they do not get the service or the individualized planning that they need. And a lot of times they might have to do it themselves in-house, or they have like a guy that does it for them. We've heard that many times. And then you're not getting the expertise. So, with our agency, you are getting people that have decades and decades of media experience. You have great service, but you also are going to have, you're going to get much fairer pricing, and you're going to get the benefit of having a full service team that knows media across the board and can truly service that client in a different way. And then on the creative agency side, again, as I mentioned from the beginning, that's where a lot of our experience is. So we've had the benefit of working with some of the best creative people in the business with our experience at CPB. And we love working with creative agencies, and they often love working with us because they'll come to us with an idea, and we won't say like, oh, that's not on the plan, you can't do it. We try to figure out how to make it better and how to put it into the plan and help sell those ideas into the client from a media perspective, as well as they're doing it from a creative perspective. But we're able to provide that support and rationale of why you should take a risk on a big creative idea. And here's the media rationale as well.
I like that a lot. I'm going to get back to like the proper interview in a second. It occurs to me, what's the most undervalued or underrated media now platform in particular? Like what's one who's like, oh, you know what? There's a really rich opportunity.
Oh, TV.
Yeah. I think that honestly, you see so much in the press now about TV, and linear is obviously declining, right? There's no fighting that from a ratings perspective. But it is still the only channel that you can reach literally tens of hundreds, potentially millions of people at the same time, and see that immediate impact on, your actual business results. So many brands, go to this digital first model and say, well, we just need to be spending in digital because everyone's on digital. Yes, that's true. But there are so many eyeballs still on TV. And without fail, most of the brands that are digital first brands that we've worked with and started layering on traditional, they immediately see a sales result from going back onto traditional.
Yeah, it's this idea, and it's great. I didn't even think of TV. It's the idea of simultaneous viewing and the groundswell you get from so many people seeing your message at one time. And as David said, there's truly no other medium like that. And yes, things have absolutely changed, and we're not spending nearly what we were spending on TV before. We're not buying the levels of GRPs we were before, but without fail, if we put a brand on TV, it is so clear the impact of that from a traffic perspective, from a sales perspective.
And I think it's also about how they're consuming that media at the end of the day, because even, if you're working with another media agency, there's arguments about okay, where does streaming, TV fall? Is that traditional TV? And our viewpoint, it is, because you're designed to watch it on a TV, right? But then you get into with larger agencies and stuff where people are divided within teams, literally inner teams fighting over the money with one another. Right. Everyone has their bottom line they have to hit as a group. So to us, we're how is that helpful, right?
My pro tip is just always put your biggest bets on hour 4 on today's show.
We can probably buy you a spot there, so to promote this.
I mean, I like a good 4. I was a morning show producer in radio, and so by the 4th hour, just looking at each other, going, "God, what are we doing?" Can this day just end? All right, let's go into talent. Why should talent be putting hunterblu on their list?
In terms of if we're looking for employees,
looking for talent or freelancers. Yeah, why should they be putting?
Why should people not want to work for someone? I apologize. It's actually crazy. We were just having this conversation. One of the biggest challenges we had at hunterblu was hiring our first employee, because it's really hard to convince someone who's worked at a media agency for however many years to come work for a 2-person media agency. Right. And so we had 4, I think, people say no to us before the first person said yes. And now we are in a very fortunate position where people seek us out, which we're, really, really grateful for, because, and we truly were like, we can't believe people, want to come work for us. This is awesome. But we really do employ a people first strategy. I know a lot of people say that, but we really put into practice in terms of how we have designed our agency culture. We call our agency a safe space. We set boundaries. We have amazing benefits, things like that. We are, again, fully remote. We never intend to have an office. We're very clear and transparent with our employees. We meet with them twice a year. We tell them exactly how everything's going in terms of our business. We don't really hide things from our employees. And we really give them the benefit to grow. We have a development plan for every employee. We have third parties that come in and do different types of training. And, we're constantly thinking of new ways and to be to come up with new ideas for benefits in our space. We actually just sent out a survey to our employees, like, what benefits would you like to see that we're not currently offering? And, we'll take those into serious consideration, because we are small and we can do that, where, of course, that's not feasible at a 10,000 person agency, but at an agency of our size, which is just around 30 people, we are able to take those into consideration.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. The last question is, it's a bit of a thought experiment. I like doing this because it's just fun to me. Whether they are a client or not, who's a CMO or marketer or agency leader that you want to say hi to? Maybe it's an agency you work with.
That's a good question.
I know. That's why it's a thought experiment, right? Everybody says liquid death. Everyone's like, Andy
We used to work with Andy Pearson,
Pearson,
yes. At Crispin Porter. So I've talked to him before. So hi, hopefully he's watching.
I will say it's top of mind because we are at the ANAs, but we did hear the CMO of Netflix speak yesterday, really and she was incredible and talked a lot about fandom and really getting into the minds of consumers. And it was there's a lot of amazing speakers here, but she definitely resonated with me.
Yeah.
So,
and then selfishly, I think I would say like the head of Delta Airlines, because
all right,
beyond probably brand loyal in a sense that I should not be so brand loyal to them.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Diamond.
Exactly. I am Diamond. So
I'm gonna laugh.
That's a lot based off their changing program, but I think meeting like Ed from Delta would be
Ed Bastion. All right. I'm an Alaska Airlines guy, so I mean, because I'm in Portland, I can get anywhere from Portland and Seattle. So.
Pacific Northwest makes sense. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Well, listen, number one, thank you so much for supporting this mission. And when you popped up on my radar, I get excited when anybody pops up on the radar, but to have you both pop up, and I thought, oh yeah, hunterblu, cool. So I'm really super stoked you're here, and the thing is too, is we want to tap into your expertise in media as well, so we can keep having that conversation, so we can just keep indies moving forward. But thank you so much for your support, and best wishes as you keep on trucking along.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Really appreciate it.